Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hey Matt, how are you?
Good.
Nebraska's playing a little bit better lately. What are you seeing in them in terms of some of the progress they've made and what kind of challenges they're going to present for you?
Right. I think the challenges that come up is just their ability to, run their actions and get their spacing, back cut off their actions, get the ISO post ups, get the ISOs out in space, play through ball screens. Um, you know, their ability to get out and transition on your misses or your turnovers. I think it's going to be important to, just have a good awareness and what's going on in the actions that they run, and also try to just build a wall in transition and not let them get in. If they're driving the basketball, then they're getting more layups, they're getting to the free throw line, they're penetrating and they're pitching and moving the ball, and they're just getting you behind plays. We got to do a good job of, staying ahead of things and not getting behind things. But obviously they got a great win at Penn State on the road, which is a tough place to play. And they're able to pull it out at the end. Made that play after not scoring for about 7 minutes, and was able to pull that out. Then obviously they, were an eyelash away from beating Illinois in that overtime loss, at their place. So just anytime you can play, Illinois the way they did, just shows of their improvements. And obviously they're in a really tough, difficult spot with all the games they have to play, but also, coming, from being out for 3 weeks and, now having to come play. It's really been difficult for teams that have been put in that position.
Being that your first game with them is still up in the air, were there ever any conversations about you guys staying out there for 2 games like they just did with Maryland, or not come to that? There was?
Yeah, with the Big Ten office, they talked about it, but they also talked about, other scenarios too. So it's hard when they have, multiple teams, Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska on pause. And now when you look at things, there's a lot of, dots that need to be connected that after you start piecing some things together and scheduling some things, you're going to put the other people in a little bit of a bind because it's not a fluid situation, because you have parts with the schedule with, 11 teams trying to operate the same way, but they can't because, obviously you're going to have those games where you got to play those 3 teams. And so you're going to have those gaps in your schedule that you want to fill, but it's not going to all be smooth, because once you start to fill a couple of them, now it just changes things. So, kind of a tough spot, but they discussed that. They discussed some other things, but when we have that gap after this game, we play Saturday, we don't play till Friday. They have games there. So that was a logical thing for us. But obviously they already, scheduled some games in that place.
So had they asked you to do it, would you have been willing to give up the home game to make it work?
No, I wasn't going to play back to back like that, for us.
You'd mentioned after the game, I asked you about Eric scoring lately.
They can ask me my opinion. I answer them. I didn't answer it directly to them because I haven't talked to them about it. Elliot talks to him about it, and he asked me. I just didn't think that made sense, for us, to do, because these games they're huge, man. People don't understand like how big these games are, for everyone coming down the stretch, no matter who you play or where you play them, all these things, all these games, mean a lot to helping yourself get seeded for the Big Ten tournament and hopefully help yourself get seeded for the NCAA.
I'd asked you after the Michigan State game about Eric scoring lately, and you said that he's just taking what people are giving him. But do you see a more aggressive player right now? Do you see a player who's trying to make things happen a little bit more?
I see a player making the right reads and attacking people off the bounce when they allow him to do it. I think that's the thing. Just take what they give you. And so he's had a couple really good games in terms of he's looking to be aggressive. If it's not there, he's moved it, and looking to be aggressive if it's there, attack off the bounce. And when you start doing that, people will start to back up, and you got to honor that. And that's where I think his pull-up can come into play. Don't dribble the basketball and dribble around to shoot a pull-up.
Right.
Dribble the basketball to go get layups. Then when they stop those layups, now you can stop on a dime and make them pay with that pull-up. When he has a healthy balance of that right there and his decision making, he's played well in these last couple of games. He's really done a good job of that.
You always talk about how when a player is not necessarily making an impact offensively or things aren't going their way offensively, you want them to still find ways to impact the game. Did Brandon do that against Michigan State from a defensive perspective?
Yeah, I thought he did. I thought, especially in the end of the game, we had him in there defensively, and I thought he did a good job. He helped force the one turnover, and then just denied Aaron Henry a couple times when he was trying to get the basketball and didn't let him get it. So I thought he did some really good things. He's starting to take on a little bit more of a challenge on that end of the floor, and that's what we need. People are going to take him away. I thought Michigan State's defense on our guys that could shoot was really good. Once again, both games. I thought those guys, Langford, Henry, I thought those two guys especially were really good defensively and just made it hard on our guys to get clean looks. And if that's the case, that's okay. Just throw the basketball inside, move the basketball, break them down. Anytime they're taking something away, they have to be helping us, with spacing and other things. And that's what, those guys have to learn. Brandon has to learn. I thought he did a better job of it as the game progressed. If they're just not going to let you have anything, ball movement, throw the ball inside, make them pay in other areas.
Right. Just a quick question about the Big Ten. Everybody seems to believe it's the best conference in college basketball. A lot of people thought that last year too. This seems like this is going to be, pretty standard. How did it get this way? I know the Big Ten's always been good, but is there anything that's transpired here the last few years where so many people have gotten good and whatnot that it's become the potential 10-bid league that it's become?
Well, I think we have a good brand, as a conference in general. We have a very historic league, a great academic league. And so I think when people are choosing schools, we're always going to compete, with two or three other conferences for having the best league. And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. Right now we're in a very, very good position and you want to try to maintain it. But history would tell you that that's cyclical and that comes and it goes. But you still want to be in that conversation, and that's what we just got to keep striving for. But we have great players. I think the fact that the Big Ten Network and FS1 to go on top of ESPN and CBS, we have the best TV package across the country. We're able to sign players from all over the world, let alone all over the country. We have great coaches, and I think it's just a great combination of people and education and brand and, a lot of years of working. I think sometimes people lose, track of the brand of schools that have been really, really successful through the years, not just in the Big Ten, but just across the board. And that's what you want. You want to be able to build something that's going to withstand those ups and downs, and you want to be able to stay on top. And I think we're in a great place right now in our conference.
I'm good. Thanks, Matt.
Carm?
Yes, thank you, Chris. Matt, are you seeing a little bit more, not maybe 100%, but more maturity out of Travion the last few weeks? I
think his approach is better. I would say that. I think he's kind of found that niche. He's still, when he's detail oriented, he's really good. And when he gets loose with things is when he has more struggles. And just trying to get him, any big guy that you coach, you got to rebound the ball, you got to run the court, you got to play post defense, you got to play ball screen defense. Like those are your constants right there. Like you got to be good in those areas, and then talking. You can't just come into a game and say like, hey, I'm not going to do these things and expect to be successful. Like those things there, like you can run the court every single game. Like you can play ball screen D and talk and play post D and talk, the whole time. You got to be able to execute things. You got to be a good screener. So, working towards just doing those things every single day, he's done a better job in those areas. He still has a little bit of the mentality to be a home run hitter, instead of a singles hitter. He'll reach on defense. He'll get himself, he might get those steals too, but he also might get in foul trouble. He won't box out, but yet he'll get you 12 rebounds. And so like, that's kind of the thing for him is, let's don't be good or let's don't be very good. Let's be great or let's be special. And when he can kind of, you know, get to that point where like that is an everyday thing, not on Wednesday night and Saturday afternoon, an everyday thing. And he's much better, believe me, he is much better. But it's some of the things that he has are God-given. Some of the things are just really instinctual. Like he has really good instincts of the game. So we work constantly on offensively and defensively being in the right position and doing the right things, because now his strength, his skill, his instincts will just take over. And I think you've seen some of that and seen some of those improvements. But I still think, you know, as a coach, when you have talented guys, you got to want more. And we still need more from him. And as a player, sometimes you look back like, damn, like I'm doing pretty good here. Like, but that's just part of it. You know, that's part of it. Like you don't want more from Matt Painter and Dave Barrett and Link Darner. You want more from Conzo Martin and Glenn Robinson. Like you got to get more from them, because there's only so much those other dudes can do. Like you got to get more from Travion. Like why can't he get 20 rebounds in a game? I tell him all the time, like why haven't you got 20 rebounds? Get 20 rebounds. And he looks at me like I'm crazy, and he gets 10, 12 rebounds, but he has the ability to do that. He has the ability to go to Lincoln, Nebraska and get 20 rebounds. And so like, why not be special and get them? So that's kind of my push towards him. It's like, I want him to be great.
Right. I mean, it's probably a never-ending process for you to push him in that direction, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, that'll end on his last game. Well,
maybe he'll get 20 in his very last game that he plays for you.
There you go.
But has he become somewhat of a leader for you on the court with?
Sure. Anytime
these freshmen adjust to everything.
Sure. Anytime you're consistent in your play, he's been more consistent. You know, anytime you're consistent, you're a leader. No matter if you're saying things or not saying things. Like everybody's personality is different. But if you do the right things and you show up and compete and play and you're consistent in your production, you're a leader, period.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Charlie, I see you with your hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Matt, we learned today 25% capacity for tournament games. What will that mean on the whole for this tourney that's coming to our home state?
I don't know what it will mean, obviously, because you got to divvy your 25% up with a lot of teams. So I don't understand. I didn't read the article. So the 25%, is that the whole pod? Is that, the actual game? Is it, but
yeah,
I think it's
good.
good.
Say that. Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's okay. If you got something for me,
No, I thought it includes everybody in the gym. So teams.
Right.
Personnel, family.
Yeah, it's good. The more people that, obviously to get it closer to, the atmosphere. Obviously, you're not going to get that atmosphere that you have there. But, yeah, you're getting it a little bit closer. But it's, obviously they still are going to, the health and safety and, the precautions that you have to take are going to be the most important thing.
Just the turnaround and to see folks in gold and black again. Is that something that you're itching for at this point?
Well, sure. You want your fans there. Like, you want to be able to have people behind you. You want your family, you want your friends, you want, Purdue alums, you want everybody that's behind you to be there and be able to get to the game. Obviously that's not going to happen. It's going to be a smaller percentage of people that can be there. So I think it's more for us is getting 100% capacity the following year and filling Mackey Arena. Like that's more for us what you're looking for, because like people don't realize this about going to NCAA tournament games. Like you sometimes are playing those early rounds and they're not sellouts. Like you got like sections that are packed and other sections that are empty, other sections that are half full because their teams aren't playing yet. So a lot of people, that's kind of a misconception to some of those early rounds, especially when you're playing out of your area. That they're like you're just in a packed house because it's a great NCAA game in the first or second round, and that's not always the case. Those tickets are all sold. But not everybody's in their seats because their team's not currently playing.
Right. Thank you.
No problem.
Coda, Clinton, anything else? Go ahead, Clinton.
Matt, going back to Travion a little bit. I mean, it's no secret that he's a good passer, out of the post. Where do you think he kind of ranks in terms of other big men you've coached, maybe played against as well, in that aspect?
Yeah, and in terms of passing or just as an overall player?
In terms of passing alone.
Oh, he's the best passer we've had as a big guy. Caleb Swanning was a good passer too, but he's not as good as he is.
Is there anyone maybe that you've coached against that you could maybe compare him to, or anybody like that, or is it?
He's got a body and kind of like Ike Diagu. You know who that is? If I'm saying it correctly, that played at Arizona State, that played in the NBA for 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah, he's kind of similar to that. A little bit like tractor trailer. With his ability to handle the ball a little bit and be able to pass and kind of maneuver. So I would say those two guys just off the top of my head. He gets compared to Swanigan a lot. They're a little different. He's a better offensive rebounder than Swanigan. Swanigan's a better defensive rebounder. But they both have a post-up game, a dribble-down game. And they do have similarities. He's obviously a pretty good, guy to compare him to. But I would say the other two guys, somewhere in between. You want somebody to be their own guy, but he's obviously he's still got time in a career. It's hard to compare him to other guys that have played here when he's still playing. He's got a lot of basketball left.
Got it. Thanks.
No problem.
I got one real quick, Coach.
Okay.
Going back to Nebraska here. Obviously, they've dealt with their challenges with COVID and everything else. But can you talk about some of the challenges that they present? I know Banton is a 6'9" guard. You don't always run into guys like that in this league. So can you talk about some of the challenges they present, I guess, with individual personnel in terms of your team?
Yeah, well, Banton's a good passer. Banton can post you. He can pass over you. You got to try your best to keep him out of the paint just so he doesn't get deep and score over you and also be able to deliver to their guys. McGowan's is really athletic, good in the open court, good in transition, streaky. He's one of those guys, he makes a couple. He's really going to get more aggressive. Teddy Allen is just kind of a scoring machine, making pull-up threes, driving, posting up, shooting floaters. Maiden is a guy that has really shot the ball well at home, made a couple threes the other day in their game, can triple threat you and shoot. You want to be able to get, him out of rhythm there. They went small. Obviously, Walker has really helped them. Walker did an extremely good job on Kofi Coburn and just battled and competed and played. But he's a physical guy. He can use his dribble a little bit. Good, offensive rebounder. I can go, down the list of all their guys. But I would say, when looking at them, like Webster's a guy that can get hot and shoot. Obviously, he's from Indianapolis, so we're familiar with him. So you want to be able to keep him in front of you, but also not let him get into a rhythm shooting the basketball. But their athleticism and their length and their, they're very versatile with their size. They have big guards, and we're going to have to do a good job of keeping them in front of us and trying to get them out of rhythm.